A reformed LA gang member undoes his peaceful new life when he steps in to protect two young immigrants from his violent former leader. Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new Netflix review, and today we're talking about the new Netflix film. It's not a Netflix original, but it is a film that just recently hit the platform. We're talking about John Henry. In this non-spoiler review, I'm going to let you all know what I thought of the movie, if you should check it out, and give you my score at the end of this review. But before we dive into it, as you all can see on the screen now, make sure you follow me on all my other social media accounts. If you're new to this channel, definitely consider subscribing, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my new content. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Really helps out the channel, but also really appreciate it. And if and when you've seen John Henry, I want to know what you all thought of the movie. Your good, your bads, your positives, your negatives, everything in between. Let's have some fun discussions in the comments below. So John Henry was a film that kind of found me. I just recently reviewed The Eddie on Netflix, and after I was done watching it, I just kept seeing John Henry. It was like number 3 out of the top 10 on Netflix, so I decided to, put it in my queue, and I watched it the other day. I'm pre-recording this video, and, as I always do, I always start off with the positives because I always like to try to find the most positive things to say about a film before I dive into the negatives first. So, kind of thinking about some of these actors in the movie. I think of Ludacris, who I've really enjoyed the transition from being a really, really one of my favorite rappers, actually. I love Luda, big fan, have all his albums, but I love to see his transition go from being a hip-hop artist into films. He has a really good filmography. He's been, I like him in pretty much every movie I've seen him in. Up into a certain point of his career, most recently in a film that we might be talking about today. But I like Ludacris, and I like what he's been doing with his career as an actor. I like Terry Crews because I always like that he plays he's typecasted, right? He's obviously 6'5", 6'8", or whatever he is, 280 plus pound. He's a muscle bound guy. He always plays the opposite of what you would think of a person like that, right? He always plays the teddy bear, the loving person, the funny character, like in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which I love that show, by the way. But I like those two actors, and they had some say in this film. They were executive producers. This might have been a passion project for them, because John Henry, we all grew up with John Henry, right? At least I have. I've read the stories when I was a kid. Very familiar with the character. I know The Rock is making a John Henry film. We'll see what comes of that. But, I like the talent involved in this film. I'm not too familiar with the writer and the director. I believe his name was Forbes, if I'm not mistaken. I don't even know. This might have been his first film. But, there's those characters. And this... Thinking of some positive things to say about this film, there's a particular character, JB, who is the father of John Henry. He's played by the actor Ken Foree, which, by the way, guys, do yourself a favor. Look at Ken Foree's filmography, and you will see that he's been in a lot of stuff, not only movies, but TV shows. He's in a lot of genre horror films like Dawn of the Dead. He was in Halloween. He was the guy that thought that he was Michael Myers' friend. This guy is in a lot of stuff, and he was the only character, in my opinion, that was in this movie that knew what kind of movie that he was in. Everyone else seemed to be playing it a little bit differently, but JB was a character that I found to be funny, had the best lines, had some of the better moments to a certain extent. Again, JB knew what movie he was in. Ken knew how to play this role because he's been in a lot of obscure type of shows and movies in his career, so he knew what he was getting into. So I really appreciated JB, and I think if you guys saw this movie, do you agree with me that JB was maybe the best character in the film? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But outside of JB, guys, this film was something else. This film, I remember seeing this trailer months and months ago, and I thought to myself, this film can go one of two ways. It can be like super, super over the top, like in the vein of like a Machete, or it can be maybe a film that has something to say, right? In regards to the subject matter, it's taking place in LA Compton, growing up as a gangster and trying to get out of the system and try to make your own path and leave your past behind and try to be more positive. It could have went that route. But this film, this film to me, and again, I know how much work, how much effort goes into these movies, and this might be a passion project again for Luda, for Terry, for the Will Forbes, for anyone and everyone involved. This could have been something they really was excited about. I am to assume that this film isn't meant to be as serious as it thinks it is. I am to assume that the director and the writers were trying to pay homage to the John Henry lore, but also pay homage to, going back to Ken's, look at his filmography, some of those older films, such as maybe like a Shaft, or such as Dolomite. I think of those type of films where they're having fun in what they're doing. They have a little bit of seriousness to them, but it's very tongue-in-cheek. I am to assume that was the intention for this film. But then I think about the film, and there are moments that try to be serious, try to say something, but they just don't do it. And if they try to do it, it is poorly executed. Again, I don't know if this is the director's first time writing a script, directing a script, putting it on the big screen, or in this case, a small screen, even though it had a very limited theatrical release. There are scenes in this movie that felt very, very rushed. There are scenes in this film that felt like very, again, no disrespect to the creators, but very amateur level, like D level, very bad level, very low level quality of filmmaking. There are moments in this film where I'm thinking the dialogue is literally improvised. There are VFX that I think are horrendous. And there is a long laundry list of things that I did not like about this film. But the biggest thing about this film was the potential to go extremely over the top. And I thought it was going to go there. And it tries to go there with like less than 5 minutes left in the film. The film could have been, as I had mentioned, when I saw this trailer, I'm like, oh, they can get crazy with this movie. This can be, like I said, like a Machete, a Dolomite meets, Dolomite meets Shaft meets Machete, where it's just this guy who has a past, who's restrained, who doesn't want to use violence to answer things, to get revenge for people, but then he's pushed over the edge, which he is pushed over the edge in this film. There are certain things that happen to him that makes him wants to do the things that I really want him to do from the very beginning, but they don't do that. And again, before we get the things that I thought this film was going to be, this film is filled with craziness in the worst way possible. Ludacris, again, big fan of Luda, love him as an artist, like his transition as an actor. When you say ever, I always think that like this is the worst ever or whatever, and there's probably worse villains, but I can't think of a worse villain than I can with this character. I don't even remember Ludacris' character's name. His name was Hell. Hell, who has this kind of horseshoe on his face, and they explain why, but why he does that is what happened to him, I should say, not why he chose a horseshoe with diamonds in it. And he also has like this, like, I don't want to say a flamethrower, but he does something to his victims or the people he wants to throw, like send a message to other people. And they don't really, again, I don't even want to give too much away. This film holds so much back, and it has no reason to. They should have just went full rated R, over the top, head splitting, just blood everywhere, gushing everywhere. Again, it didn't have to do that, but it should have done that because it would have made it so much more entertaining. Going back to my positives, I watched the whole movie because I was thinking that the film was going to do some over-the-top, like really good over-the-top, cheesy, kind of, B-level type of films, but it never got to those levels, guys. I'm just going to finish this review up by saying this film is not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it just doesn't know what it is. It doesn't know if it wants to try to tell a message about being in a gang, trying to get out of a gang, not to try to use violence to solve your answers. It tries to take that route, but then it has this horrible dialogue, really bad acting at time, really just bad filmmaking. I mean, literally there's a scene where there's this I think the director was maybe trying to pay homage to like Quentin Tarantino, because there were like scenes where people would be in a car having like this dialogue, and like they were talking about the human centipede, they were talking about jail, they were talking about all this stuff, thinking that they were being like really witty and really clever with their dialogue. Like I think of the very first scene in the film, which thinks it's like this, kind of Reservoir Dogs type of vibes to it. Again, very Quentin Tarantino-ish. I think they even mentioned Quentin Tarantino in this film. Again, I'm just going to end this review by saying this isn't the worst film ever made, but it is one of the worst films I've seen in a very long time. And this is on Netflix. I would love for you all to give this a double feature. Watch this movie and Dangerous Lies, which just came out on Netflix a couple weeks ago, and you're going to have yourself a blast. This isn't one of those films where it's so bad that you need to watch it, but I do recommend you all check it out just because I want you to see some of the absurdity in this movie. So I'm going to give this film a 1.5 out of 5. It's not great. It's not funny. It doesn't even take itself to the extreme, which it should have. And there's so much opportunity that they could have went with this film, but it just falls flat on so many levels. And again, this film doesn't not make me not a fan of Ludacris anymore. I'm still going to support Ludacris, whether it be albums, whether it be movies. Same with Terry Crews. I don't know too much about this director, but hey, he might come out with another film and then be a really good film. Like another thing too, who was the artist? There was a rap song in this movie that played like 5 times. Like I thought it was gonna be like, okay, it's in LA, we were gonna get Kendrick Lamar, maybe The Game, maybe some Nipsey Hussle. I thought they were gonna maybe mix in the soundtrack, but they kept playing the song over and over and over again. I don't know if the director was the artist that made the song, or that was like a friend of his. And he was like, hey man, just give me this song. I'm going to put it in this movie and we're going to just play it. The song was kind of cool, but it kind of got real old really quick. But either way, guys, 1.5 out of 5 for me for Giant Henry. It's not a good movie at all, but I just want you guys to watch it before we could talk about this film. So let me know your thoughts in the comments when you do check it out. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my content. As I had mentioned, I just reviewed The Eddie on Netflix. I just reviewed Dead to Me Season 2. There was a show on HBO that premiered. I Know This Much Is True. I reviewed that. So check out my content that I have on my channel. I have a watch along this Friday for Mad Max Fury Road, which is celebrating its 5-year anniversary. I have my movies that I missed series. I have a new movie review coming out from Manos. So a lot of content coming for you all. So again, thank you for the continued support. We're almost at 3,000 subscribers. Thank you all for the the support that you give me on this channel and helping this channel grow. So thank you for watching this review, and we'll see you pretty soon.